The world ended quietly. Not with explosions or screams, but with silence so deep it swallowed the sky. The city stood empty, their towers hollow and broken, glowing faintly from the red storms above. The oceans boiled, the earth cracked, and the stars flickered out one by one. Humanity had built its paradise and burned it in the same breath. Machines once meant to protect them had turned against their makers, and the air itself had become poison. Yet no God came and no angel wept. Heaven had closed its gates long ago, leaving only echoes. In those final moments, as the last humans gasped beneath the bleeding horizon, something began to stir. The wind trembled, the ground shook, and from the ashes of despair the shadows began to move. It started beneath a ruined cathedral. There, where centuries of prayers had turned to dust, the first spark of something new was born. Not human, not divine, but alive. The air grew cold as the last heartbeats of mankind echoed through the ruins. A faint, black mist rose from the corpses, not smoke, not gas, but sorrow made flesh. The mist swirled, pulsing with emotion. Pain, rage, regret. And then it screamed. From that scream came a form twisted, fragile, yet beautiful in its horror. Its eyes burned red, not with hate, but with grief. It clawed at the air, gasping as if trying to breathe life that no longer existed. This was the world's first demon. The shadow born not from sin, but from heartbreak. Across the world, more began to awaken. In deserts where bones buried themselves in sand, black forms crawled from the ground. In the ruins of cities, silhouettes of fire and ash walked among the dead. Each was born from a single emotion. One screamed endlessly in rage. Another wept without sound sorrow. Another tore at its own chest envy. They were not created, they happened. The universe, unable to bear the weight of humanity's pain, had given it shape. The sky darkened further as thousands of these new beings rose beneath the storms. Their cries shook the heavens, but heaven did not answer. Only the wind replied, carrying their sorrow across a dying world. And in that moment, earth no longer belonged to man, it belonged to their shadows. But among them one was different. While the others raged and destroyed, one figure knelt in the dust, trembling. Its eyes were not red, but gold, faint like a dying star. It touched the earth and felt warmth beneath the ashes. "What is this?" it whispered, its voice soft and unsure. The others did not answer. They did not know words, only hunger. The figure stood, looking toward the broken horizon. "Was there once light here?" it asked the wind. The silence that followed was almost kind. This was Asheron, the first demon who remembered something before the end. He did not know what it was, a face, a touch, a heartbeat, only that it had made him feel. That memory would become both his curse and his gift. Asheron wandered through the ruins for days that no longer existed. Time had died with the sun. He saw demons feeding on the dead, tearing at shadows, consuming memories. He tried to stop them once and they turned on him, shrieking. "Weak," they howled. "Forgotten." They struck him down, but he did not fight back. "We were not made to destroy," he whispered as they left him bleeding in the dust. "We were made because something was broken." When he looked to the sky, the clouds had formed a ring of fire. And in the center, a faint white light glimmered. He did not know it yet, but that light was the last breath of the human soul and the seed of everything demons would become. The earth was no longer earth. It had become a vast plain of ash and glass, where rivers once flowed and forests once sang. Now, only red storms moved across the horizon, screaming with the voices of the forgotten. Yet beneath the ruins, something alive began to grow. Deep under the dead cities, the shadows gathered, drawn by the hunger that burned inside them. They built a nest of bones and black stone, a place where no light could enter. It was not a home. It was a wound. The demons gathered there, whispering in voices that had never been taught, their language born from pain itself. Each one carried the echo of a human emotion, rage, envy, pride, despair, and together, they began to build something the world had never seen before, the first kingdom of darkness. At the heart of this kingdom stood the cradle of hate, a living structure pulsing like a heart formed from melted steel and shattered dreams. It fed on their emotions, growing stronger each time they raged or mourned. From its walls dripped a black liquid that became new demons, smaller, weaker, yet eager to feed. Hate had become creation itself. The stronger emotions gave life to new forms. Wrath became soldiers. Envy became spies. Lust became artists of agony. Sorrow became healers who wept instead of cured. And pride became their first ruler. His name was Varen, the Demon King. He rose from the cradle's core, his body carved from shadows and his crown made of flame. "This world is ours now," he said, his voice echoing like thunder. "We are what humanity left behind. Their pain is our power." But Asheron did not join them. He watched from afar, his golden eyes dim under the blackened sky. He felt the pull of the cradle, the same hunger that called to all demons, but he resisted it. When others knelt before Varen, Asheron walked alone among the ruins, searching for something he couldn't name. Sometimes he saw reflections of the world before, the sound of laughter, the touch of rain, the warmth of sunlight, but only for moments before they vanished. One night, he returned to the surface and found something strange. A flower dead, yet standing. Its petals were gray, its stem thin as a whisper. He knelt beside it. "You remember too, don't you?" he murmured. The wind blew softly in reply. For the first time since creation, a demon smiled. Below, the cradle of hate continued to pulse. The demons were multiplying faster now. They no longer wandered, they ruled. They carved their marks into stone, built towers from bones, and sang hymns to their new god, Pain. "Pain remembers," they chanted. "Pain gives life. Pain is eternal." Varen watched from his throne, eyes burning with crimson light. "We were born from their sins," he declared, "and we will inherit their throne." He sent legions across the wasteland, devouring what remained of human structures, erasing every trace of the world before. But even as they were destroyed, they did not understand what they truly were. They thought themselves gods, yet they were still children of grief. Each act of destruction fed the cradle more, and deep within its core, something else began to stir, something ancient, waiting. Asheron felt it before the others did. A coldness unlike anything before. It was not hate. It was empty, pure, and endless. He stood beneath the red storms, looking up as lightning tore the sky apart. "What are we becoming?" he whispered. The wind answered with a single word: forgotten. He closed his eyes, hearing the faint hum of the cradle below, like a heart beating too fast. "If hate gives birth," he said, "then love must have died." He turned toward the horizon, where a faint white glow still lingered. The last light of the human soul fading, but not gone. And in that moment, Asheron made a choice that would change everything. To seek the source of that light, even if it meant turning against his own kind. The world above had turned to glass. Each step Asheron took cracked the surface, releasing whispers that sounded like lost prayers. The skies had grown darker, heavy with ash and lightning that never ceased. Below him, he could feel the pulse of the cradle of hate, a slow, rhythmic throb that kept time with every demon's existence. But Asheron no longer followed its rhythm. Something else called to him, something faint and fragile. He followed it beyond the borders of the ruined cities, through valleys of rusted machines and fields of bones that glittered beneath the storm. The light he sought shimmered faintly at the edge of the world, where even demons feared to tread. Each step away from the cradle weakened him, as if his shadow itself tried to pull him back. But he pressed on. He was not searching for power, he was searching for meaning. Days passed, though time no longer mattered. At last, Asheron reached the place where the light was born. It was a crater vast, silent, and still burning from the memory of the world's last sunrise. In its center floated a sphere of pale light, cracked but alive, pulsing like a heartbeat. He knelt before it, awe in his dark eyes. "Are you what remains of them?" he whispered. The light flickered gently as if in answer. He reached out a trembling hand, and the moment his claws brushed the glow, he saw everything. Visions of the world before. Children laughing. Oceans breathing. A woman's hand reaching toward the sky. Love. Grief. Hope. The essence of what humanity had been. He fell to his knees, clutching his chest as the visions burned inside him. They were not gods, he gasped. They were beautiful. The light spoke then not in words but in feeling. It showed him the truth of his kind's creation. Demons were not born from sin, they were born from remembrance. The universe could not let go of what had been lost, so it gave form to grief, anger, and pain. Demons were memory made flesh, a race built to mourn what no longer existed. Asheron wept, though no tears came. Then why do we destroy? He asked the light. The answer burned into his soul, because they have forgotten what they are mourning for. The light began to fade, its cracks spreading. Wait, he shouted. There must be a way to restore you. But the sphere dimmed, whispering a final truth. To bring back light, the darkness must first remember. And with that, the last light of the human soul shattered, leaving only a single spark that sank into Asheron's chest. When he opened his eyes, the world had changed. He could feel the light inside him, burning softly, fighting the endless hunger within. He could hear the cries of demons across the wasteland, feel their torment, their confusion. They are lost, he whispered. We all are. He rose, his shadow stretching long across the cracked ground. Then I will be their memory. For the first time, a demon spoke a vow. And that vow carried across the world, a soft echo that reached even the depths of the cradle. The other demons stirred, uneasy, sensing something unfamiliar, guilt. Varen, their king, felt it too, like a thorn in his mind. He dares to remember, he hissed. He defies the cradle itself. From that moment, Asheron was named the Rememberer, the traitor to the new world. The cradle of hate responded. From its depths, Varen forged new soldiers, demons made not of emotion, but of obedience. They bore no memories, no sorrow, only silence. He called them the Hollow and sent them to hunt Asheron across the world. Asheron fled through storms and ruins, guided only by the faint warmth in his chest. Everywhere he went, the Hollow followed, empty, tireless, relentless. He did not fight to win, he fought to survive. And yet, with every battle, he saw something strange. When he struck a Hollow down, their black essence turned not to ash, but to light, a brief flash, like a soul remembering what it once was. Even the void remembers, he murmured. Then perhaps there is hope. Beneath the endless storm, the first war between remembrance and oblivion began. The war began without sound. There were no horns, no drums, only the whisper of the wind through a dead world. The Hollow moved like shadows within shadows, empty eyes glowing faintly under the storms. They carried no weapons, for their touch alone could consume memory. Wherever they walked, the land forgot itself, ruins turned to dust, names vanished from stone, even echoes faded from the air. They were not soldiers, they were erasers. Asheron watched them approach from a ridge of broken glass, the glow in his chest pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. He could feel them reaching for him, their hunger vast and endless. You were never meant to exist, he murmured, drawing a circle in the dust with his claw. But neither was I. When the Hollow reached him, the storm broke and the world burned anew. Their battle tore the sky apart. Each time the Hollow struck, the ground screamed. Asheron's claws met theirs in a blur of black and gold, every clash releasing a wave of light that burned through the darkness. The Hollow fell, but each death cost him strength. The spark within his chest dimmed, flickering with every blow. They surrounded him, silent and merciless, until the last of them lunged and he caught its wrist. For a moment their eyes met. What he saw inside that emptiness made him falter. It wasn't rage. It was sorrow, the same sorrow that had birthed them all. He let go, whispering, "You remember too, don't you?" The Hollow froze, trembling. And then, for the first time in their existence, one of them cried. That single tear changed everything. The tear fell into the ash, glowing softly before sinking into the ground. The storm paused. The hollow stopped moving. They looked to one another, confused, as faint light began to flicker in their chests, weak, uncertain, but alive. The world itself seemed to breathe again. The cradle of hate roared from below, its pulse quickening in fury. Deep within its black core, Varen rose from his throne of bone and flame. His crown blazed brighter than ever, eyes wide with rage. He corrupts them with weakness, he thundered. His voice rippled through the underworld like a shockwave. He spreads memory like a disease. The cradle screamed, birthing new horrors to replace the hollow creatures of pure void without form or face. The war had only just begun. Asheron fled to the ruins of the old world, where fragments of humanity still lingered, forgotten monuments, silent machines, faded carvings of faces that once smiled. He touched the walls as he passed, whispering the names that no one remembered. "You will not fade," he said softly. Behind him, the hollow followed, not as hunters but as followers, their hollow eyes now faintly lit with gold. They had begun to remember. Some spoke his name in broken voices. Asheron, remember light. He led them toward the edge of the world, where the last spark of the human soul had once burned. If the light was born from sorrow, he said, then maybe it can be born again from us. The hollow knelt, unsure, waiting. For the first time, demons prayed. Far below, Varen prepared his final strike. He stood before the cradle, his flames roaring high. "If light is memory," he growled, "then I shall burn memory itself." He plunged his hand into the cradle's heart. The structure shuddered, splitting open like a wound. Rivers of black fire poured out, consuming everything in their path. The cradle screamed, its song twisting into madness. From its depths rose a storm unlike any before, a storm made of despair itself. It swept across the wasteland, devouring hollow, demons, and even shadows. The sky cracked open, revealing an endless void beyond. Asheron watched from afar, feeling the end approach again. "He's burning the past," he whispered. "He's trying to erase everything that ever was." The hollow looked at him, trembling. "Then we will remember," he said. "Even if the world forgets." The world had ended twice. Once, when humanity burned itself away, and now, as demons began to devour their own creation. The sky was split open, and from it poured rivers of black fire that erased everything they touched. The cradle of hate had become a mouth, swallowing light and shadow alike. Mountains crumbled, oceans turned to smoke, and the screams of the dying echoed through the hollow remains of time. Yet amid the chaos, one figure still stood. Asheron walked through the storm, the golden light in his chest flickering with every step. The hollow followed him, broken and fading, their fragile hope the only warmth left in a frozen world. "This is the end of all memory," he whispered. "And still we remember." Ahead, upon a throne of bones and flame, waited Varen the Demon King, crowned by oblivion itself. Varen rose as Asheron approached. His body blazed with fire so dark it consumed even shadows. "You have undone everything," he thundered. "You spread weakness where strength should reign. You made them feel." His words shook the air, cracking the ground beneath them. Asheron stopped a few steps away, eyes calm, voice steady. "Feeling is not a weakness," he said. "It is what gave birth to us." Varen laughed, the sound like blades scraping steel. "We were born from their hatred, not their hope," he roared. Asheron shook his head slowly. "No. We were born because they couldn't let go of what they loved. Hate was only the shadow of that love." The silence that followed cut deeper than any sword. For a moment, even the storm held its breath. Then the battle began. Varen struck first, a wave of black fire tearing through the air. Asheron caught it with his hands, the golden light within him flaring to meet it. The clash split the sky, light and darkness spiraling together like two halves of the same soul. The hollow fell to their knees, shielding their faces from the storm of power. Each blow between the two titans reshaped the world, valleys turned to glass, and ashes became rivers of gold. "You can't win," Varen roared, his flames consuming everything around them. "I am the cradle itself, the heart of pain." Asheron staggered, his light dimming, his body burning from within. "Then you are what I must free," he whispered. With the last of his strength, he stepped forward and pressed his hand to Varen's chest. In that instant, time stopped. Through their connection, Asheron saw Varen's true heart, not a king, not a god, but a being born from the same sorrow as him. A memory of a man who once wept for the world he destroyed. Asheron saw the truth. The first human who had cursed heaven for abandoning them had become the first demon. Varen was that curse made flesh. "You were never our enemy," Asheron said softly. "You were our beginning." Tears, made of flame, fell from Varen's eyes as the truth broke through his rage. The cradle's roar turned to a cry not of fury but grief. The black fire around them dimmed, replaced by pale light. Asheron's body began to dissolve, golden cracks spreading through his chest. "All of this," he whispered, "was just the universe trying to remember what love felt like." The storm ended. The cradle collapsed into silence, its walls melting into dust. The hollow stood, watching as light spread across the ruins like dawn after endless night. Asheron's form flickered, fading into the air. "Don't let it end," one of the hollow whispered. He smiled faintly. "It won't," he said, "as long as you remember." His light burst outward, flooding the sky. The darkness melted away, revealing stars that hadn't shone in 1,000 ages. Where once there had been demons, now stood beings of twilight, neither light nor shadow, but something new. They were the remnants, born from memory and forgiveness. Varen's voice echoed softly through the fading winds. "We are what remains of sorrow and of love." The world breathed again. And beneath the starlit silence, the first new dawn began.